Kit, welcome. Kit, you are a college student, a designer, a content creator, and the co-host of Ageless podcast. How do you do it all?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on. I'm in this weird time right now because all of my classes are now on Zoom. I go to NYU, so um, everything is on Zoom now.
Wow.
And I genuinely thought I would have more time to get everything done, but I feel like somehow I still don't have enough hours in the day to balance everything. So I'm doing my best. I have 2 weeks left until the end of the semester. So I'm just making it through finals right now.
Wow. And what is that transition been like, and what are some of the habits that you've put in place? I feel like based on your social media, you're a very regimented person. You seem to be someone that has everything under control, and something like this can completely flip your world upside down. So how have you been navigating that, both socially but also professionally and physically?
So, yeah, I mean, as you said, I would say I'm a very regimented person. I'm really like a creature of habit and I love routine. Um, and so honestly, this has been really challenging, but what I've done so far is tried to create some sort of daily routine and habits that I go through on the daily. I think that I I love creating a morning routine, so I just sort of adapted that to be inside rather than, going for a walk in the morning. Maybe I'm now streaming a home workout or whatever it is. But I think that also it's important, what has been, really important for me during this time as well, is getting out of that routine a bit, because I can get really comfortable in isolation in some ways and get super, super attached to these routines that have begun to make me feel more comfortable in such an uncertain time. But at the same time, I really have been trying to on the weekends still have some sort of weekend. So whether that's going for a long drive or um, doing a long walk or FaceTiming friends or whatever it is, to try and get out of that routine a little bit, at least on the weekends. Like, I still need that break, not focusing too much on schoolwork, resting more. So yeah, I love my routines, but and they've been super healing during this time.
That's really important. And I guess, for you too, I'm curious about sort of what got you into fitness and wellness. I know that every time I look at your social media, it inspires me to do that class that I've been putting off. But it seems like you've really merged your love for fashion and fitness and, just overall well-being into one thing. And I'm curious, like, was it a specific life event or something that you didn't prioritize? Like, what really led you to pursue this?
I mean, the thing about fitness is that it is really addicting. So when I started my, what I would say, fitness journey, when I was in my senior year of high school. I just was drinking a lot and not treating my body right. I didn't like the way I looked. I wasn't very confident in how I looked. And so I made a New Year's resolution, which never works for anyone. And I was and nothing had ever stuck before this, but I decided that I was going to move my body in some way every day for the rest of the year. And that year, literally, I just fell in love with fitness. So, and I was super committed to doing something every day. So, some days it would be a super long bike ride, or Other days it would be a hardcore berries class. And my family and I are all surfers. So in the summer, that's like what I'm doing every day. And it's just like naturally a part of my life. But in the winter, it's hard to keep all of that up. So um, I've basically tried like every free workout there is on YouTube at this point, probably. But it's been 3 years since then. And I mean, when I'm on vacation now and stuff like that, obviously I am not like too hard on myself, but it is like having some sort of movement in the morning every day has literally changed my life, and it is what keeps me sane, especially, with what's happening now. Like I need to do a stretch in the morning, or I need to do a yoga flow or try a class or something like that just to remain sane. So that's what I've been up to.
That's really inspiring, because I think right now it is so hard for me, and I think a lot of young people, to get up and move when it's just so easy to get thrown into school or thrown into work or thrown into your phone. And I think that's one of the things about you that is so inspiring, because there's so many reasons to not do that. And so many young people, they're not feeling good about themselves, and they're not feeling good about their bodies, and there is such a distinct relationship between physical health and mental health. And I know that recently, this week, something that a lot of young people are feeling right now is this experience of being in limbo, like being in limbo between graduation and the real world, being in limbo, because now we're in online class. And so for me, like my mental health is very much so shaped by what I'm doing for my body. And I'm curious for you, how physical health has had an impact on your mental health, and what that journey has been like, because it goes so much further than, your appearance and what you look like, and the real benefits, which I think you've spoken to, are really what you feel.
Probably the biggest question, like the most asked question I get on Instagram or whatever, is always, how do you stay motivated and honest, like to work out and
Yeah.
to stay healthy, etc. And honestly, I can't really answer that question, because it only comes with routine. That motivation only comes like with routine. There's not, there's days that I just feel like sitting around and doing nothing, but I know that you never feel worse after a workout, no matter how small it is, no matter how, short it is or light it is or whatever it is. It's like, I know that I will feel so much better after a workout. And I know even like if I take a week off from doing, from working out or moving, or like if I'm just slumped for a week, I know that first workout back is like literally I can feel the endorphins, and it's like such an amazing feeling. So I suggest, if you have been, down and a little bit in a funk because of quarantine and everything that's going on in the world, and if you have time, obviously, like it's such a privilege that I'm not, a doctor in the hospitals risking my life all day, that I have time to work out in the morning. But if you do have that time, it is like such a pillar of my mental health through all of this. So
I think that's fantastic advice. And I think one of the other things that I'm curious about for you is that you have very much so built a platform and built a personal brand as a very young person, which in some ways makes you grow up so much faster, because you're answering to people, you're constantly producing content. And I'm curious what your relationship to social media has been like during this time, or what it's been like in general, and how much your online persona reflects who you might be behind the screen.
well, it's like online right now, it's just such like a weird world, because I feel like the people that were posting sort of surface level content are now really having to reevaluate posting at all, because at the end of the day, like, I don't really need to see your outfit inspo right now when I'm not getting dressed up.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not really putting on makeup right now. I have a little bit of makeup, but I'm not like following a makeup routine, or I don't need to see your clothing haul because I'm probably not spending money right now. So, it's I think everyone like online has really had to reevaluate what they're posting. And it's definitely gotten to be sort of like a cancel culture mentality for the people who don't seem to be like respecting what's going on in the world, which I totally get. But at the same time, like, you need to recognize that for a lot of these people, it's how they make money, it's how they
Right.
survive. So, it's a careful balance. For me, most of my content is like uh fitness and recipe stuff, so it's kind of like the perfect quarantine content. um so right now I'm mostly focused on that. Like, in the past I would mix in some lifestyle stuff, some like maybe some fashion stuff in there as well. But right now, I think what most people want from me and that I'm respectful of is fitness and fun recipe ideas and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I think that's right, and also it's sort of what's important about casting your net a bit wide. Like if you put all of your eggs into the fashion basket, it can be really challenging during this time to figure out what your perspective and your point of view is. But I think for you, what you've built is a platform that is inspiring, is positive, but also does show your personality and who you are and the challenges that you might be facing during this time, because that's what I think is, really most relatable. And I'm curious for you what it's been like just as, a young person. And I think you've received a lot of recognition as a young person who created a brand and who's just done so much, like what it's felt like to be more authentic and more vulnerable on the platform. Because I think even in some of your recent posts, when you were talking about anxiety, like that is something that so many people can relate to. And we're almost having this period of time where the stigma around mental health and emotions is being lifted, which is so positive. But everyone feels very differently when they talk about these things. And the response can also be, different depending on, who they are, like, how their family feels about being public about that, which is something that I'd struggled with in the past. And so I'm curious about what that experience has been like for you, specifically during this time.
I mean, at this point, it's like mental health and like sharing mental health struggles and this whole concept of authenticity has literally become a trend. And I think that for me, like, I want to share how, I'm feeling online, but at the end of the day, it's like become such a saturated theme
Totally.
that it's hard to break through to people. I think that there's very few um, influencers or friends that I have who are like have online personas that I can really relate to. But maybe at the end of the day, it's like finding a few people whose experiences you can really like, you feel their experiences are most relevant to you, that you can kind of latch on to and then cut through the rest of the BS. Because um, I think it becomes inauthentic with how authenticity itself has become a brand. So
I agree with that. And I also think that the severity of these things is also being downplayed. Like I was just speaking to a psychologist earlier, and she was saying that all of these young people, a lot of their experiences on TikTok or Instagram, they're calling, a small bit of anxiety a panic attack, and they don't even know the difference because the language is just being thrown around in the wrong ways, which is also sort of counterproductive when it comes to the mental health culture. So I really appreciate that you recognize that, and I think there is something to really staying in your lane. And if that's not your topic or that's not really your thing, then stay away from that. And I guess with that too, do you have any advice for young people who are trying to find their voice on social media? Like how can someone who wants to use the platform in the right way figure out where they can provide the most value?
Oh my God, this is such a hard question because it's so unique to every person. I think you start with what you like, and then if you're looking to scale, you pick from what you like is like from whatever you like the most is the most popular, and like the most people have responded well to. So I'd say start with what you like, start with what you're passionate about, and then listen to the responses you get from that.
That's really great, because that's how you can figure out who's really engaging with you and emotionally connected to what you're putting out. And I guess with that, sort of taking a pivot, you have really pivoted so much as a creator, as an artist, and also as a designer. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how the designer Kit fits into this full picture and what your vision is for yourself, because you have built such a platform that it almost is, your runway to wherever you choose to go. So what are some of the personal dreams that you have, and tell us more about this brand and, why you decided to do it. I think it's so fascinating because you're so young and you have already had several collections.
Yeah, it's just, I'm at such a weird point in my life right now where I'm like a year away from finishing college, and I mean, as you can see from my social media, like I have so many passions and so many things that I'm like really interested in scaling. And right now, I think my main focus is the podcast. I have a podcast on, well, it's with Spotify, but it's on all streaming platforms, with my mom, called Ageless. And we started that a year ago, and it has grown so much in the past year. So it's been like, as a creative person, I think it's really important to have multiple projects going at once. And that has been really my main focus right now. In terms of design and the fashion world, I have such a weird relationship with it, just because I feel like it's sort of like a race to the bottom sort of situation. And with everything that, the sustainability movement and all of that, like it's just such a weird industry to be a part of. I started my company 2 years ago. Yeah, almost 2 years ago. And we started off doing women's wear. And now we've pivoted and we do mostly, well, all artist collaborations. So it's bringing, iconic artists like Richard Prince and Mark Grochon, Wes Lang, like artists whose work is up to millions of dollars. So bringing that to a younger audience has been awesome. But it is a project that I started in college because I really wanted the experience of owning my own business. Before I graduated, I've learned so much about, finances and production and business management and the creative side of things. And I've really had to wear a bunch of different hats. And I'm not sure what is going to happen after I graduate with the company, but it's been like a really, really fun project so far. So I guess I'll just see how that pans out in the next 2 years.
I think that's really the best way to look at it. And I think especially now during these times, we're recognizing that you can have all these ideas and these passions and these projects, but ultimately, the powers that be are really going to dictate what happens in the world. And really, the best thing you can do is respond. But I personally love everything that you put out. And I think that pivoting to that younger audience of art and bringing art to young people is so powerful, especially right now, because art is almost like a medicine. It's a place where we can get inspiration and creativity. And it's something that also is, very intangible and hard for younger people to reach. So by doing that, I think you're really closing that gap. So, thank you for sharing that with the world. And so, Kit, to sort of end our conversation today, I would love to hear what digital wellness means for you and how you define that, and how, perhaps any tips that you have for young people to use technology as a way to help them improve their lives rather than destroy it.
For me, I have definitely had times where especially Instagram can become super toxic for me. And I've taken like longer breaks from using the app just because it's like that's the only way to fully cut it off. But honestly, in the past few months to a year, I have really begun to curate who I'm following. I have a lot of friends in the influencer space, and a lot of them are mostly like in the fashion side of things, like fashion blogging. And that can become like just super toxic to me. So in the past few months, I've really started to not unfollow people, but maybe just mute their posts or whatever it is, especially if it's like people I'm close to,
Yeah.
and really replace those accounts with accounts that I love to follow, which is honestly at the end of the day, like my healthy recipe accounts and other people in the wellness space. So right now, like on my feed, it's pretty much all people who I find really positive and inspiring, mixed with like some chickpea cookie dough recipes. And so it has helped me like manage my time on Instagram so much better, and just like not have so much stress and like tightness around opening the app all the time. So yeah, I would just suggest like following the accounts that truly make you happy. And if that is fashion bloggers for you, that's great. Finding people who you want to follow, who you're not going to compare yourself to, and who, are going to uplift you. So seek out those creators. There's so many, like endless lists of people that you can follow. So
I love that. And with that, I would say your account is definitely one of the inspiring ones. So where can these listeners stay up to date, get inspiration, and follow along your journey?
yeah, so please follow me on Instagram at Kit Keenan. And you can also follow along with my podcast. It's called Ageless. And yeah, basically just those two.
Well, thank you so much. This was awesome.